Good evening and welcome to Cedar Creek Homestead. Hope you're having a blessed day today, and we sure are here and been enjoying some of the prettiest weather here lately. And we just went through Christmas. We survived that. Got to visit some of our family and had a wonderful fun time. Made it back home, and the day after Christmas when we come home here, I think it was 70, 72, something like that. Just beautiful, beautiful weather. And I got several things for Christmas. I got several coffee cups, but this is one of the coffee cups I got for Christmas this year. It's really too big for coffee. It'd probably be better for tea, because your coffee will get cold before you get it all drank. But I was very appreciative of it. I thought it was very pretty. Very nice looking coffee mug. And then I got this here, and I don't know if you can read it or not, but Cedar Creek Homestead. And in the middle here, this ace of spades is our what we use for a brand here. My grandfather started using ace of spades brand for his brand, and anyway, my son and his girlfriend made this and for me, so I wanted to show it off here for the video here, and I sure appreciate that, and thank you all very much for the fact they got me the coffee mug too. And I got other coffee mugs and things, and I'll maybe show them off on other videos. But I wanted to talk about in this video today is what should we prepare for 2020? Or should we even prepare at all for 2020? This past year, I mean, there's a lot of stuff here where we live at. I don't know about where you live at, but we just locally right here, we had a big tornado went through over here. We had strong winds, lost a lot of limbs in the trees. People lost roofs. A lot of damage, just different things that happened. Floods, big floods here, and we live right here on the Arkansas River, and just what they call a 100-year flood, and this is twice in my lifetime. I'm 50-year-old, so they're going to have to change that maybe to the 50-year flood, because twice in my lifetime it is flooded here really severe, and this time was the worst ever. But we've survived 2020, 2019, and we're headed into 2020. And should we be concerned? Is there anything, homesteaders, preppers? I kind of call myself, if you watch my videos, I kind of am a mixture of a homesteader. We raise a lot of our own food, our own eggs, our own chickens, all this stuff. Raise our own garden and can. We raise cattle. And then, but also we put stuff back. And I think a homesteader, a real homesteader, I believe, is one of the things they will do is prepare a lot of their food and can it and put it back. So we do that, and we store some things, not for 100 years of food and stuff like some people do. So I wouldn't really call myself a prepper. But the question is, in 2020, should I continue on what I'm doing? Should I expand it? Should I just stay where we're at? What should we do? Or is there any concerns at all now? We look back at what's just happened. The stock market's at an all-time high. Wow, man, it's just, but you got to own stock to benefit from that. But the runoff from that is helping people with their retirements. Our business this year has done the best it's done since I've been in business here. And in fact, for wintertime, I have never ever been this busy. I've took some time off here in the holidays, but the phone is rang off the hook, and I have I've been going ahead and trying to call a few people back and talk to them, tell them, hey, I'll be back after the first of the year, but I'm taking a little time off, because if I haven't had any time off, nothing, I need to get caught up on some things here. My son wanted a few days off to go on a little trip, and so I was like, hey, but we've been blessed, and I really believe the economy is really booming. I know folks, Trump attributes this all to himself, but I attribute it to God and the blessings of God. I believe that Trump has had a hand on it. I think some of the policies and things that he's done has been good for business. So that's helped the stock market go up, and people that are like have 401ks, retirements and stuff that are linked to the stock market are finding their portfolios are growing. If you have anything, it is growing. And once folks that have those have told me that things have been very good, and that for a long time they lost ground, but now they're coming back. That's a good thing. And then those people have extra money to spend. We do heating and air conditioning work, so we have sold a lot this year. We've sold a lot of air conditioning equipment, plus the service work, and we just continue to grow. We keep shrinking our area that we will do work in, but all the while, the smaller the area here, just right in here, we have just seen a tremendous increase of people wanting new stuff put in. It's got more disposable income. So that's all good, and you know, but I give God the glory for it, and men and women that are out there working and doing stuff too. It's not all the stock market. It's not all Trump. Even though, like I said, I think he has done some good things. We've seen this USMCA thing, you know, the trade deal with Canada and Mexico. I think that's very important. That has passed the House. Now it looks like it's on its way to the Senate. The Senate may get bogged down on passing it because of this, you know, trying to impeach Trump. But that is a good thing, the trade with Japan, the trade deal with China. We keep being teased that that's going through, but should that get passed, our country is setting in an economic boom. But this is one thing that I would say about all that. I'm thankful, I'm glad, I think things are really turning. But all good things seem like eventually come to an end. And what goes up, they say must come down. And we need to be prepared. And I don't think there's any time for people to slack off and say, oh, we'll take our ease. This impeachment thing, this has hurt us. It's hurt our country big time. Whether you agree with it, don't agree with it, it has hurt our country around the world. And we're going to see people like the leader there in North Korea. We're going to see China, Russia, others that Iran and others that are going to test us a little bit more, because it has weakened our country as a whole. It's weakened it. It's weakened the presidency, but it has definitely weakened us as a whole. To me, impeachment should be only for the most extreme of situations. And they were saying they were going to impeach Trump even before he even got elected. Some of them were saying, some of the opposition was saying, oh, well, just impeach him. And now look what's happened. They've voted to impeach him on a couple of flimsy, what I feel is flimsy things. You may not feel they are, but I feel as flimsy charges, and they won't hold up. And we knew all along that it would go to, when it did ever go to the Senate. I know right now Nancy Pelosi's holding it up there in the House, but eventually that will go to the Senate. But Trump's not going to be impeached. So all of this trouble that they've done, and in fact they say they're going to bring it up again if he gets reelected and stuff, it's probably helped assure his reelection. I think more than likely there's nobody that I see out there that could stand any opposition. Last time Hillary, most thought she would probably win, and I think she stood a good chance to win, and it was very, very close. But I think this time he will take the popular vote and he will win if he can keep himself from something. I mean, it's going to take something big now. That's something else for people to give heed to anything now. For those that support Trump to turn now, it would take something so big that he could almost do anything that he wanted to do, because people would not support, they don't support impeachment, the majority of the country. And around here I've had a number of people tell me that they're Democrats and they're switching to Republicans. And I had some tell me that they, one guy, he's a pretty staunch Democrat, and he was telling me the day, he said, I did not vote for him the last time. I voted for Hillary, but he said I will vote for him this time. And he said I think he's doing a good job, and I'm opposed to what's going on. Regardless of your political views, it's probably assured him of getting reelected. But then in 4 years, And I know that's a long ways off. If he gets elected for another 4 years and he gets in office, I don't see anybody on the Republican side that probably could have much of a chance. The Democrats on the left are getting their war chest. This time through, these people that's running for president, it is a good practice session. Now, they would love to win, and there is a chance that one of them could, but it's a very low chance in my opinion. But I believe what's going to happen is they're going to be so prepared that when the next election comes, they're going to be loaded for bear. And when it does, and I believe a Democrat then will be elected into office, and I'm not predicting things, I'm just going to tell you what I think will happen. Things will totally be turned around. Executive orders will be like we've never seen before. Worse than Obama, worse than Trump. We're going to see executive orders, and we're going to see things change that's going to affect everybody. And I think our economy will collapse. In fact, usually in an election year, this year, for instance, most usually, it was always taught me this way, that in an election year for president, the economy usually goes down because there is an uncertainty as to what would happen. Right now, the past few years, people knew Trump was a businessman, so it has been a certainty for business that having him as president was good for business. And you know, there's other things like the environment and stuff. People were, there was certainty in that area, but they knew he wasn't going to be as staunch on the environment as Obama had been. That was a certainty. But as far as business, we've had a certainties, the stock market and all, that Trump is a businessman first and foremost. Before he's into foreign affairs, before he's into anything else, Trump is a businessman, and he knows business, and I believe he's doing what he thinks is right for business. Whether it's right for everybody, I don't know, but for business it is working good. And for a capitalist society like we have today, if we were to do away with the capitalist model, I think it would destroy us. It would destroy our country if we went to a socialist type of, would not just immediately, but I believe within 3 or 4 years of entering into a socialist, if we had a socialist president, and I believe in 3 or 4 years we would be like a lot of the other countries and we would go broke. And we're headed to that anyway. We're headed to socialism big time. Whether we get a socialist president or not, our policies, the laws, the ordinances, things that are being out there today is all a part of socialism. And I'm all for helping people. There's people that need a hand up. All of us probably at some time or another in our lives has needed a helping hand, and we've gotten that. I appreciate that, but the helping hand does not need to be a permanent solution. And the way that the socialist systems that they're taunting is very, very bad. And I'm not going to get into all that because it's not the purpose of today. But just to tell you, I believe in 4 years after, if Trump does get reelected, and I believe he will very strongly this time of any president we've ever had, I believe Trump will get reelected. That don't mean that we need to let our guard down. It's just right here in Oklahoma went this last election here, we went the biggest ever of any presidential candidate. Every county in Oklahoma supported Trump more than we've ever had in history. The time before, I think it was Romney ran against Obama, it was very record setting, but this time was even bigger than that. So Oklahoma is set for Trump no matter what. I don't worry about it. But I know that listening to people and their comments from other parts of the country, there is not just a big tidal wave, but there is a momentum of movement of more support for him, for Trump. But in the next time, after Trump gets reelected and he goes 4 years, there is no Republican out there that I think will be prepared and ready. Our Vice President Pence, I think he is too honest of a man to run for president. That's just my opinion right now, that he's too honest. He's too good of a man to run for president. And I don't see anybody in the Republican Party that will beat another go-around after Trump has to leave office. You know, he serves 8 years. And I believe there's going to be constant, unless somehow the Republicans were to win the House back. And I will tell you, I've always felt like, my grandpa used to always tell me this, that it was better when you had like, it split up like it is right now. Instead of maybe the Democrats controlling everything or the Republicans controlling everything, that you have a mixture. You know, we got the Senate is controlled by the Republicans, the House is controlled by the Democrats, but that way it keeps one side from just totally going crazy. And because I'm going to tell you, the Republicans don't always have the best answers. They do some stupid stuff too, just like the Democrats do. I wished I could say that everything Republicans ever do was perfect and holy and righteous and all that, but then I'd be lied to you. But the thing is, right now we are headed, even morally, I think our country has done a little bit better in the right direction, but we're headed down a hill, and a big hill, and the momentum's gotten started, and the morals is getting worse and worse as we go. The traditional Christian values that most of us grew up on today are considered out of date, irrelevant anymore, and even working. If you're somebody that actually goes out and works with your hands, you're considered irrelevant anymore. If you have a cushy job, you sit at a desk, you've got a big education, all that, then you've arrived. But the thing is, right now in our country, that is so great, is if you'll go out and work with your hands, you can make it. You can do something. Anybody can. And I know people all around. I know a guy that's got an auto store and works on automobiles, and he's got a business that just won't quit. And he's in a little bitty town of like 300 people, and it's not on the beaten path, but he will repair your automobile. And he's got, his whole yard is full of cars, constantly busy. The little ring deal in his office where they hang the keys up is just covered up. He has got more to do. He has took his money and bought several rental properties around where he's at, and has got those rented. He is just prospering and doing wonderful, but it's because he will work. And I believe here in the United States, and it is not based upon your color, it's not based upon your sex, it's based upon you and what you want to do. And I've known people of all races that are successful. I know women that are very successful. I know women that's worked themselves up to be the head of companies. So there are hurdles, but there's no roadblocks in this thing if you want to go. Now, getting back, should we continue to prepare? I'm going to tell you this. I don't think there's any stopping place. Now, I'm not one of these that think you ought to go out and get 20, 30 years worth of food and do all that stuff. But I believe being prepared, what we do here is I prepare for the worst, but I'm praying for the best. And some will say they're hoping for the best. Well, my hope is in God, and I'm praying for the best thing here for the remainder of my life. And my family here, I am praying that the best will happen. Good things will come out of all this. But the uneasiness, and I believe, again, I'm going to bring this back, this impeachment thing has weakened our country and weakened the presidency, that we're going to see this Kim Jong-il, whatever his name is, the little rocket man Trump calls him over there in North Korea. I believe he's going to be even a worse thorn. I believe Iran's going to be, I believe Putin is going to raise his ugly head up, and other leaders around China. I think one of the reasons they've given us a little more trouble to Trump on these trade negotiations, not just a little bit, a whole lot of trouble. I think Trump thought that he could go in, renegotiate with them, get everything going and working, and it would just work out. Well, you see what's happened. They've even made statements that they think they'll wait till the next election and Trump won't be reelected, and then they can make changes. But now they're coming back to the table because they watch the polling. They see what people are doing, putting on social media type stuff. They're watching too, so they're saying, hey. But so right now they're trying to work a little bit, and it may be that Trump gets this thing worked out with them. But all this stuff's good, but it has weakened us to the point that we could end up in a war. We just seen a few days ago where we bombed some sites there in Syria. We don't need a war. We've seen where Russia has come out with a new intercontinental ballistic type missile. It's got some special name, they call it. We're seeing that now it appears that China and Russia is looking at taking out our satellites. Their war strategy is to take out our satellites. That's why Trump has wanted to have the Space Force. A lot of people's laughed about that, but I have heard senators, Democrats and Republicans, that are very much in support of this because it's a very serious issue. Our military, our naval vessels, a lot of them are guided by satellites. Now, I had a military man tell me that they still require people on board that know how to navigate by the stars. They still have to do that, but they are still guided by the satellites. But in case the satellites got knocked out or went down, they would know where they are. So they're using the old ancient technique of that. But just if our satellites all got knocked out, I mean our big companies, corporations and stuff, it would bring us, it would devastate us economically here in the United States if the satellites, if a big portion of them got brought down by something. So, that could happen. We know that there has been talk, if some of the congressmen and senators have talked about this, other leaders that are in the know are concerned about an EMP happening, whether it would knock out on the whole continent of the United States, all the electricity, but they know they have the ability. We know that they're in our computer systems. They're hacking hospitals constantly, putting in ransomware where they'll tell a hospital they can have their records back if they pay so much money. There are other things they could. They're constantly hacking into government computer systems. We don't hear about all of the stuff that goes on, but it's happening out there. It's a very serious thing, and we're being attacked constantly. They're trying to bring us down. Foreign operatives are. And so in all of that, this year, and this being an election year too, we're kind of vulnerable this year, because Trump is probably, if he's, and I believe he's a smart man, but if he's paying attention at all, is going to be careful about everything he does this year he don't want to get us in a war, and countries know that we don't want to get in a war if we can help it on an election year. So they're going to taunt us, they're going to push the envelope, do all that they can. So this is a time, I think, to constantly be prepared. But like I said, this, building an underground bunker and all that and doing that kind of stuff, I'm not so much for that, but being able to do stuff on my own, having some food put back, having some water put back, having emergency supplies put back where you could survive. Even the government, FEMA, recommends, and you can go on their side, and they recommend having a supply put back. And so it isn't something that just where a few of us are freakish that are doing. I've had some FEMA training, was on the fire department here, and they're training us. They're getting the police, the fire, first responders. They're getting us ready. They're preparing because they know that it's inevitable that something's going to happen eventually. And it has been happening. We had the floods, and so FEMA come in. They put the systems into place when the floods hit here. There was some things that didn't work out quite like it should have been. And now that I'm off the fire department, I'm not as in it as I was, but there are a lot of techniques and training, and they've been training a lot, getting prepared, but they see where your weaknesses are and you develop that. And it's the same thing with Homestead, and you need to kind of test your skills and what you have. And I know of some people that's gone and turned off their electric for 2 or 3 days just to see if they could survive for for 2 or 3 days with no electric. And what would they do? You know, how would they keep the food in the fridge? What would you do? I mean, so we've had people here that, I mean, had a very rough go, and the electric was off like a week. And so some of these homes over here were without electricity during the flood for a very long time. The town of Braggs up here was totally surrounded by water for a while, and they would fly in helicopters and take the those that have medical issues or anybody that wanted to leave. They'd fly in helicopters, load you up, take you out. It was a one-way trip. If you went out, they wouldn't bring them back in. But that whole town was surrounded, electric off, just, you know, something that, but some of the people were prepared. And so they were ready. And some of the ones said, you know, it really tested their skills. And for about a month time, it tested all of our skills. We lost our electric a lot, and I had to use the generator, but it was never off for a long-term deal through all that rain and storms. But we could have that happen again this year, another spring that was abundantly wet. But nonetheless, I do think that 2020 is another year to continue to be prepared. And I think we all need to take heed and be prepared for 2020. Hey, I sure appreciate you watching today. May God richly bless you. We'll see you next week here at Porch Talk. If you're not a subscriber, we'd love to have your subscription if you subscribe. Once you subscribe, there'll be a little bell icon that comes up there beside the subscribe button, and if you will click that, when we put up other videos, you'll be notified. Also, if you have a comment, I love reading the comments, and I don't always comment back, but I try to always put a thumbs up. Sometimes there's nothing to add to what folks say, but we'll add a thumbs up. We sure do appreciate you watching today, and God bless you. We'll see you next Tuesday night at 7 o'clock here for more Porch Talk.